Ask away. Ask me the question that you that you wrote on the Google Doc. Ask me the question that you texted me.
So, do you think Barcelona should pull the trigger and sack Ronald Koeman? And if you do, who would you replace him with?
Okay. Based on the circumstance, I think that Barcelona should just leave Ronald Koeman. They should just keep him because what's the point? In my opinion, what is the point of shaking everything up in late September, early October? There's nothing better out there. Who are you going to bring? Roberto Martinez? Just because he has ties to Catalunya? I honestly don't think that is a good choice. I think you just keep the manager. And I'm not a Ronald Koeman fan. I'm not someone that is backing him because I do think that it is getting very difficult. It's virtually impossible to defend Ronald Koeman. But I do believe that you wait until May or June, then you let go of the manager because I believe his deal is for 2 years, and then you just let him go. You don't pay him anything because he's not going to quit. He's not going to quit. He's not going to give up that money. He's not going to give up that 6 million or 12 million pounds that he's owed should he be fired. So you just leave him. He stays put. You don't do much. The season is a wash anyway. This season is a wash. I don't think Barcelona is going to do any better than third place. It doesn't look like they're better than Real Madrid, and it doesn't look like they're better than Atletico. So out of those three, you kind of just call it a wash. They might even be fourth if Sevilla is the team that everyone makes them out to be, right? So you let Ronald Koeman stay regardless of whatever happens. You make the most of it. And then once you have the funds, of course, and once you have a new manager, you can bring in new players. You can bring in you can really shake things up with this Barcelona side. But let me just talk about the game against Cadiz. And I'm going to read you some of my notes, Chris. I know you're going to have to listen to this monologue right now for a little bit. Bear with me. This goes back to what I said about it being impossible to defend Ronald Koeman. All right, here we go. Memphis Depay is the only special player that Barcelona has right now, or had on the pitch against Cadiz this past Thursday. He can actually take on defenders, but this Barcelona team lacks a lot of width. Memphis plays next to Luke de Jong when in reality, you're supposed to be playing out wide. That's why you brought in Luke de Jong, so he can take that central part of the pitch. Playing with Luke de Jong is basically playing with 10 players, but you bring him in to occupy that space in the middle, right? And then you have a young player like Gavi who can't really play a ball through the lines. He's 17 years old. I don't expect him to be that sharp, right? And then the only really hope out wide was Yusuf Demir, another teenager. And you sub him off at halftime. He was actually really good when they were playing down his right side. He was putting in good balls and he was doing what was asked of him. But the thing was that he never really got the ball, or he didn't get much action in the first half. It's not his fault. If he wanted to get the ball, he had to centralize. But you're giving in to Cadiz's game plan, and you cannot do that. You simply cannot do that. There was a lot of long balls. There was a lot of crosses. This team doesn't have the height, they don't have the speed, and they don't have the physicality to play like that at all. And then, of course, the substitutions. I mentioned that already. They bring in Philippe Coutinho. This guy does the same exact thing that Memphis Depay does. And everyone's just clumped in the middle. What's the point? What's the point of bringing in Philippe Coutinho? That attack was way too centralized. I feel like this team plays at one rhythm. They're too slow, they're weak, and they're stubborn because they do not want to play a different way. My guys, Xavi doesn't play there anymore. Iniesta doesn't play there anymore. Messi doesn't play there anymore. This is a completely different team. You cannot keep on playing the same way. And I think it's very telling that the best player that Barcelona has is Ronald Araujo, a center back, a Uruguayan center back. Uruguay produces a lot of great center backs. But that is the best player that Barcelona has right now. This team is so toothless and so incredibly sad. Wow. It's worse than I thought.
I have to agree. They don't look like they're taking shape under Koeman, and I think that's why I would pull the trigger. I'd have to disagree with you on giving him the rest of the season. I'd pull the trigger, and maybe it's that I'm a Chelsea fan and I'm so used to the club being ruthless. I know that part of it is what can you achieve by pulling the trigger right now? They look so bad, but that's actually it. You can still achieve so much this season. Um, it wasn't very long ago that Frank Lampard said that this Chelsea team was not ready to compete for titles. That same season, they sacked him and they won the Champions League title.
Yeah.
So I think that there's definitely players in there at Barcelona who are not producing, and I agree with you there, but there's still some talent for the reason. So I would pull the trigger on Koeman. It doesn't look like they have an identity. It's been a year and a half now. You got his players in, they don't look any better. So I would pull the plug on this project and start over and give the new manager a clean slate, whether it's Roberto Martinez or Eric Ten Hag. I think both of those are really great options. Those are the two options that have come out in the media so far. Both of those guys play really attractive football and would give Barcelona their identity back. And I think that's the thing with Barca. Growing up, the first coach that I saw at Barcelona wasn't Pep Guardiola. It was Frank Rijkaard. And they played beautiful football. It didn't matter who they played in there. They didn't have a strong 11. They had a strong 20, strong 23. Like literally, you could put in Henry or any of the players that were on that roster, and they look so deadly. You can sub out an Eto'o. I know I'm going back a few years, but they really had so much quality, and but they supplemented that with the academy. And I think Barcelona, they remind me kind of Arsenal in the way that it's a really big rebuild. This isn't a job for a good manager. I think Ronald Koeman is a decent manager. I think this job isn't just tactics. It isn't just X's and O's, and isn't just man management. This is a really big, probably the biggest job in football, or top three with Madrid and Manchester United, because there's so much politics that go into this role because of the institution that Barcelona is. So I would just really start over and give the club their identity back. Eric Ten Hag is known for playing the youth and playing an attractive style. He has a rapport with Frankie de Jong, which you can say is their big building block, and Pedri plays in a way that you can see Ten Hag really utilizing, along with the Ricky Puig and most of their other young talent. Martinez isn't as expansive, but they play a really attractive forward football for Belgium, and they did so at Everton, and they did so at Swansea before then. So Martinez is a great shout. If you can get either one of those in, I would do so now. You never know. They could probably win this. It's still so early that they could maybe even win a trophy. I'm not saying they'll win the Champions League like we just did, but if they win a Copa del Rey, that's a trophy more than anyone thought they'd win this season. And that's a foundation for the future. Then in the summer, or maybe even in the winter window, or rather, if they win a trophy, then in the summer you can support him. But if they make the appointment now and they look good, then they could even reinforce him in the winter transfer window as well. So I think if you're convinced that Ronald Koeman isn't the guy, I don't think you gain anything by holding on to him. It's not going to get any better by playing PK at striker more games. Like it's not. This isn't the style you want for Barcelona. It's not long balls and inshallahs, who's what Twitter calls it, which is like long balls and prayers. Like, dude, that's not how Barcelona plays. You don't have to play a tiki-taka, but you definitely have to play total football. You have to play with the front foot forward. You have to play attacking. You have to play with a purpose, and soaking up pressure and hooving it upfield. it works, but that shouldn't be how these type of football clubs play, man. So I would make the change. And there's one name that has stayed on my mind. I told you, I texted you this.
Please,
I
please.
don't know if you can get him mid-season, but what I had in mind was if you can somehow get him and make Xavi his assistant coach, or make Xavi go to coach Barcelona B, and let this coach who I'm thinking of have his natural time at the club, and when that's over, then you do a natural succession, kind of like how Real Madrid did with Ancelotti and Zidane. But if you could bring in a Marcelo Bielsa and bring in Xavi to be his assistant coach, or to coach Barcelona B, I think it's literally the perfect appointment, because he's going to bring that style right away. He didn't care that he was going into England. He doesn't care if he was going to France or going into any of these clubs that he's been at, River Plate or New wherever he's at. He brings this style that's synonymous with him, that's obsessed with creating goals and scoring chances and pressing high and having energy and tenacity. And if you lose, and you lose playing with cojones, like that's what I think every Barca fan looks for. Maybe it's not the exact style that Pep had, but this is the guy who inspired Pep to play that tiki-taka. So I think if you bring him on, he's not the long-term appointment. He's not the Sir Alex Ferguson that every club wishes they appoint when they make that decision. But he's someone who would really bring back the identity in the short term, would command the locker room, have instant respect, and would really, I would say, have a big calling card in the transfer market, because you're going to have players wanting to go to Barcelona and take on that challenge with this legendary coach. Because you know the style. He's not going to go there and close up shop. He's not going to go there and do something he hasn't done anywhere else. He's going to go there and play his style. And I think he's a I would say, like a romantic with this game. I think football is his life. So I would think if he is to leave Leeds, like Leeds United, he brought them from the Championship. They're back in the Premier League. They had a top 10 finish last season, if I'm not mistaken. I think they finished 10th. They're a great football club. They're really exciting. That chapter is pretty much finished. Like, I guess the only thing he can do with them is get them European football, which isn't going to be a top four. It's maybe a Europa League spot, but you're not going to say his time there wasn't a success if he finishes in 10th and leaves, or if he leaves mid-season now and takes up this challenge at Barcelona, because I think this is the type of role that he would really be inspired to go and take. You saw it with Leeds. He only took that role because of what it would mean in the grand scheme of things, for his legacy, for those fans, for the club. And I think Barcelona is just that next upper echelon. If he makes it there and brings them back, there's no debate. He's probably the greatest coach to ever live.
People already say that. People think that Marcelo Bielsa is the greatest manager of all time, and they don't necessarily care about the trophies. They care more about the style that he has left. And yeah, that all sounds incredible. As a Barca fan, I'm jumping out of my seat. I'm like, yes, I want to watch Barcelona. I don't want it to be a chore to watch Barcelona. I don't want to watch Barcelona just because we're going to talk about it on the pod this week. I want to watch it because I want to have fun. And honestly, with some of your predictions, I would not write this off at all. No one thought that Ronaldo would go to Manchester United, and there he is. So it could very well be possible. I just don't know if Barcelona wants to do that. I feel like if Xavi goes back to Barcelona, it'll be to manage the first team. I don't know if he wants to go to the B team.
Sorry, just personally, I don't think he's ready, man. Like,
I agree.
Yeah, I don't think managing at Saudi Arabia is really enough training to get him seasoned for this role. If this was Brighton, if this were West Ham United, yeah, you could see Xavi doing a decent job there. But this is Barcelona. Like I just said, Ronald Koeman is a pretty decent coach. he had the Netherlands playing really great football, probably their best in probably a decade. And he's going to fail at Barcelona. Like, this isn't for just anybody. And no offense to Xavi, I don't think he was just anybody as a player, but as a manager, he hasn't showed. I don't think he showed anybody enough to really warrant that. So you'd be hiring him for his playing experience, and I don't know how much that would help at this point right now. They're not the finished article.
No, Xavi he's been managing since 2019. That Qatari club Al Sadd. He's been managing them since 2019. It is 2 years of professional football that he has been managing, but it's not top flight. It is top flight in Qatar, but it's not in the elite of world football. And whenever I think of guys like Luis Enrique, who managed Barcelona to a treble in his first season, whenever I think of a Pep Guardiola, who managed Barcelona to a treble in his first season as manager, they had the experience already, because Pep Guardiola was managing Barca B the season before he managed the first team of Barcelona. Luis Enrique was managing Celta de Vigo the season before he managed Barcelona, and he had success with Celta de Vigo. I don't know off the top of my head if they played European football or not, but there's a reason why Barcelona appointed Luis Enrique in May of 2014, because there was something there besides the ties as a player. There was a style that Barcelona liked, and I do think that maybe Luis Enrique was let go a little too early, and ever since Luis Enrique left, it's just been like this, right? But I will say this, and this is something that I am repeating because I agree with it. I listened to this on the Barcelona podcast. Shout out to Dan Hilton, by the way. I've done a couple episodes or I've done a couple podcasts with him. Great dude, from New York as well. He said that what Barcelona, well, actually, I don't remember if it was him or his partner that on the pod, his co-host, or his guest rather. He said that what Barcelona needs right now, should they let Ronald Koeman go, is someone pragmatic, someone that doesn't get cute with anything and just kind of just a stopgap manager to get them to the summer. And they're like, Ernesto Valverde is probably like one of the better choices just to get them to the summer, and then we appoint our manager. I think that's a good idea, because with Marcelo Bielsa, listen, I prefer that over Ernesto Valverde any day of the week. Any day of the week, I would take Marcelo Bielsa over Ernesto Valverde. But I just don't know if Marcelo Bielsa is going to come over to Barcelona. I don't know if Leeds will make it easy for Barcelona to bring in Marcelo Bielsa. And yeah, maybe Ernesto Valverde just gets us to the finish line and then we start all over. Because I do think that the best replacement or the best choice for Barcelona is Erik ten Hag. I will die on this hill. Erik ten Hag is the best replacement, the best choice for Barcelona. He already said it. He's not going to come in the middle of the season. They say one thing, another thing can happen. Money talks. We know that. I do think Erik ten Hag is the best choice for this Barcelona side. And I have a little criteria. You have to play attractive, attacking football. He plays that. You have to be young, a young manager. He's a younger manager. I think he's in his very early 50s. That's young for a manager. And you need to have the ability to maintain a project. He's been at Ajax since 2017. And he is a Cruyffist to the death. He's a proven winner in Europe. He almost made it to a Champions League final, playing very, very beautiful football, eliminating Juventus and Real Madrid in the process. He works well with youngsters. We know that. And he was recommended by Pep Guardiola. Pep Guardiola was asked if he would go back to Barcelona. He said, not right now. I wouldn't do that. But there's another guy that I think you guys should really be looking at. That's Erik ten Hag.